Everything changes. Coming at you about an hour and a half or 2 hours before tip-off, Knicks Nets. The James Harden trade became official a little bit, I guess, about an hour and a half ago. I was actually recording with JB and Mike Vorkanoff for his podcast when the trade happened. So if you want to hear our live reactions, go check that when it drops. I'm going to be quick here because I think how can you not react to this as a Knicks fan, right? That's the first thing I'll take away because it's the crosstown rivals. They just acquired a guy who has finished top 3 in the MVP voting in, I think, 4 of the last 5 years. Obviously, he won an MVP. He's really good, even though he's a little overweight now, more than a little bit overweight now, whatever the case may be. My gut reaction to this, if I'm being perfectly honest, from like the perspective of the Knicks and team building and what I care about, because what I care about is the Knicks getting good. And from what I care about is the Knicks getting every possible advantage they could get at any possible time. I'm thrilled that the Nets just traded for James Harden, giving up what they gave up. And the reason I'm thrilled about that is because the Knicks are not going to win a championship, or we're never going to win a championship this year or next year, probably the year after that. So, and that's on one hand. On the other hand, I already thought the Nets were going to be in the running to win it all this year, next year. Now, obviously, with the whole Kyrie situation, that side of it is a little bit murkier. But to be honest with you, whether their chances of winning the title went up from 15 or 20% to 35 or 40%, I don't care. Because as a Knicks fan, I got over the whole, the Nets are the big brother in this town now. What day was it? June 30th, 2019? So I got over that shit a year and a half ago, and I hope everybody else did, because the day that KD and Kyrie chose that team, whether it was the right move or the wrong move, and whether we should be sitting here wishing that we had KD and Kyrie, I don't even care anymore. Obviously, we're glad we don't have to deal with the Kyrie situation. The Durant thing is a little bit different. Who cares? The point is that at that moment when they chose them, the Knicks had to look themselves in the mirror, and I think did look themselves in the mirror and be like, oh, shit, we need to get our whatever together. And that led to the firing of Steve Mills. It led to the hiring of Leon Rose. And it led to where we are today, which is the Knicks trying to rebuild things from the ground up. So, I'm sure there are some Knicks fans right now be like, oh my God, the little brother just got, their second MVP. Like, I don't care. I guess I have sympathy for you if you care. But to me, that's old news. And to me, it only increases their chances of winning because I know they gave up their depth. I know they're not going to be able to defend anyone. I get all of that. And they don't have any more assets to improve their team. But if you're going to go all in with perhaps 2 of the best 10 offensive weapons in the history of the sport, when healthy and when engaged and when motivated and when on the floor. A lot of caveats there. But when those guys are going right, Kevin Durant and James Harden are, I believe, personally, 2 of the best 10 offensive weapons to ever put on a uniform. And I think Kyrie Irving is in the conversation for, I don't know, top 50 ever in terms of just being able to put the ball in the basket. Maybe that's even downplaying a little bit. So I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to figure it out. I think for as kooky as all of those guys are individually and the negative effects that a Harden or Irving or maybe even a Durant might have on some other team's culture, if you throw all that crazy in the same basket and they just get to be in each other's crazy, I think it's going to be fine. I think they'll figure it out. But do I think it's going to last? Do I think this has a long shelf life? Do I think this is setting up some kind of a Nets dynasty where we're going to be talking about them 3 and 4 and 5 years from now? Absolutely not. Which is why I'm going to get back to the first thing that I said, which is that from a Knicks perspective, I think this is great. Because now, all of a sudden, I, as a Knicks fan, I don't have to worry about the Nets being some kind of a long-term superpower that parlayed its assets and its other pieces into something that's going to continue to keep them sustainable, like, a Spurs or a Miami Heat or whatever else. They went all in, and God bless them. If that's what they want to do, fine. Is it going to work out? Is it not going to work out? Truthfully, I don't really care. We have our own shit to worry about. So I'm happy because of that. And yeah, is it going to suck if we have to watch them, have a parade down the Canyon of Heroes? Absolutely. And any Knicks fan who's been watching this team for as long as I have, if they say that that's not going to be painful, they're lying. But it's going to be painful for me if it happens. And maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. The last thing I'll say, and I'm going to save the kind of team building aspects of this and like the real nitty gritty of it for when I talk with Jeremy on Sunday. I'm going to get to Oladipo too. The last thing I'll say on it is I think from the perspective of could the Knicks have gotten involved in this? Should the Knicks have kicked the tires on Harden? It wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right time at all, because with what they would have needed to give up and what little they would be left over with, it wouldn't have put them in a position to win a championship. And you do this trade if you're in a position to win a championship in the next couple of years. Like Zach Lowe has been saying this on his podcast. No, I do not think they should make a play for Kyrie Irving. I saw someone type that. Oladipo. I will end with Oladipo. I have thought for a while now that Victor Oladipo was going to become a very interesting name to watch in the immediate future for the Knicks, because if you look at the free agency landscape this summer, unless you think Kawhi is going somewhere, which I don't know, the NBA is kind of funny, and now it's hard to keep a secret, and it feels like if Kawhi was thinking of leaving, we would have heard something about Kawhi thinking of leaving. So I think Oladipo is the biggest name on the market, especially now that Spencer Dinwiddie is recovering from a torn ACL or whatever it is. So does this increase the chances that the Knicks may end up with Oladipo? Personally, if I'm Houston and I think that and if I don't think I have a good chance of re-signing Oladipo to a number that I feel good about, I'm not trading Caris LeVert to get him, because Caris LeVert, say what you want about Caris LeVert. Caris LeVert's a good player. Caris LeVert put up 40-something points the other night. He's a league average shooter from three. He's a guy that could create a little bit off the dribble. He's by no means a perfect player. Is he ever going to be an all-star? Probably not, but he's a good guy. And the fact that the Rockets just gave up 3 years of guaranteed Caris LeVert on a pretty fair number to take a chance on Oladipo leads me to believe that they think they have a pretty good chance of re-signing him. Is that something Knicks fans should care about? Is that something that we should be disappointed in? I don't know. Not necessarily. If that dude is looking for the biggest bag he could get, I'm not sure that I want to pay him the biggest bag that he could get, but there's also at some point going to come a time where the Knicks need to add talent. And, the draft is going to bring whatever the draft brings. And I'm sure there will be some other superstar or star, maybe not a superstar. I'm sure there's going to be some other star player that demands a trade or is open to a trade in the coming months, because it's the NBA. There's always somebody. So the Knicks are going to have another opportunity. I don't think they necessarily needed to bank all their hopes on Oladipo. I don't think that they were doing that. But it's interesting, and I think it matters. And I think, they were probably going to have an easier time getting in the door with him if he had stayed on Indiana. I don't think that there's anything else in terms of like the trade packages. Like, what do I think? I think the Cavs did well to get Jared Allen for whatever it's going to be, a late first-round pick. I think Indiana did really well to get Caris LeVert for a guy that was definitely going to be leaving. And I think I think Houston did really freaking well with the picks that they got. My God, did they get a lot of picks? even if the Nets do stay good. And I think the Nets they're trying to win a championship. What can you say? Yes, if understood, I'm just reading the comments. The Cavs got Jared Allen and Taurean Prince and for Dante Exum, a late first rounder and a second. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. Taurean Prince he is what he is, I think that's all I got. I'm going to have much more on this with Jeremy Cohen coming on the Monday podcast. But I will see you guys again after this game tonight when the Knicks are going to be playing against Kevin Durant, Joe Harris, Jeff Green, Landry Shamet, DeAndre Jordan, Timothy Luwawu Cabaret. I think that guy's name right. And probably someone else that I'm forgetting. But I would very much like for the Knicks to win this game because they need it. They need it because when a 3-game losing streak becomes a 4, 5, 6-game losing streak, it can start to get in your head. And I don't want the Knicks to question whether their efforts are in vain. And I do think they've been making some nice strides on defense, passing the ball, the whole thing. So let's keep that going. Let's see if they can get a win tonight. I hope they can. And I will see you guys after the game. So peace out.